You stand here, you're very strong, you're opinionated, I can do this, I got my own life, I'm equal, I can sleep with who I want. With a man that treats you this way for over 8 years, that don't add up to me. That's not what a strong woman does.
That's a lot of nerve considering the alternative is somebody that don't want nothing to do with you or your child.
I'm sorry?
That's a lot of nerve. You just showed me where your priorities were right there.
It don't matter who he's with.
Don't do that,
with me
baby.
now. I'm not going nowhere, so.
It don't matter. I don't care about
wait a
that.
minute,
You done
wait a
over
minute,
with.
Miss
You the one
Davis.
that- not me, baby.
Wait a
No, I'm
minute.
not licking shit. I'm the wife. You the one who's going back and forth
No,
with
baby,
Jay.
because I did.
Hold
You
on,
did
hold
that
on,
with me.
hold on.
I didn't-
Not going nowhere.
Lady.
Ms. Rainey opens the case by requesting 2 paternity tests and suing Mr. Matthews for half of the expenses for their children, Solly and Renaya, asserting Mr. Matthews refused to accept his responsibilities. She admits to sleeping with another man during the time of conception, but argues it was a result of Mr. Matthews' refusal to accept his responsibilities. In a plot twist that rivals a telenovela, Ms. Rainey adds that if responsibility was contagious, Mr. Matthews would still be in quarantine. The drama escalates further, and you won't believe what's coming next. Brace yourself, because what's up next is even more jaw-dropping.
You are here today requesting 2 paternity tests and suing the man you say is father of your children. You admit that you slept with one other man during the time of conception, but you argue that was only because Mr. Matthews refused to accept his responsibilities.
Yes.
To that end, you are also suing Mr. Matthews for $4,663.50, his half of the expenses.
A heated discussion ensues about the naming of Ms. Rainey's son, Saileh, after another man. Ms. Rainey explains she was following Mr. Matthews' suggestion, highlighting the confusion and emotional turmoil surrounding the paternity of her children. She quips that she considered naming a pet goldfish after him, but thought it might be too big of a commitment for Mr. Matthews to handle. And just when you think you've heard it all, the courtroom is about to be shaken up even more. Just when you think it can't get any wilder, the next moment proves you wrong.
Claim you have every reason to doubt you are the father of Ms. Rainey's children. You say she is known to be promiscuous and even named her son after another man.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why did you name your son after another man?
He told me to.
Yeah.
He told you to.
And the reason is, when I found out I was pregnant, I told him and the other person that
That you
it
was
was
living
between both of them.
No.
With anybody else during the time of conception?
I slept with him and Rondell.
Judge Lake probes the dynamics of Ms. Rainey and Mr. Matthews' relationship over the past 8 years, questioning Mr. Matthews' negative view of Ms. Rainey despite their long-term relationship. Mr. Matthews dismisses the significance of their relationship, stating he has been involved with many women without forming emotional attachments. He then suggests they could have avoided all this drama if they had just used a more reliable method of decision-making, like rock, paper, scissors. The stakes are high, and the next revelation is guaranteed to leave you on the edge of your seat. The drama is far from over, and what comes next will surely astonish you.
Mr. Matthews, why you have such a negative opinion of Ms. Rainey, and she's making this point, and I have to agree, that you have had a relationship with some type of relationship for over 8 years. I mean, we're not talking about 8 months, 8 weeks, 8 years.
And they don't mean nothing. She don't stand a chance.
You.
Baby daddy was paying for her.
My baby daddy didn't pay for nothing. Anything I ever had, I paid for.
Ms. Rainey shares her struggles and the emotional pain of dealing with Mr. Matthews' behavior and the impact it has on her and her children. She expresses a strong desire to break the cycle of absentee fathers and seeks acknowledgement and support from Mr. Matthews for their children. In a surprising twist, she also reveals her plan to start a blog called Diary of a Mad Single Mom, aiming to go viral and maybe even catch Oprah's attention. Ms. Rainey humorously suggests they could use a family appearance on a daytime talk show to sort out their issues because, as she puts it, nothing says family bonding like airing your dirty laundry on national TV. She then half-jokingly proposes a superhero-themed intervention for Mr. Matthews, envisioning him as Captain Presence, a hero who actually shows up for his kids. Lastly, she muses about creating an app that tracks absent fathers, humorously naming it Daddar, ensuring Mr. Matthews would never have an excuse for missing a school play or a soccer game again. Just when you thought it couldn't get more intriguing, the next revelation is just around the corner.
You stand here, you're very strong, you're opinionated, I can do this, I got my own life, I'm equal. With a man that treats you this way for over 8 years, that don't add up to me. That's not what a strong woman does.
But I don't want to be with him because he can't respect me as not only the child, his kid's mother, but as his Muslim sister, as a friend, as a woman, period. I done dealt with him off and on.
In a courtroom twist that feels like it's straight out of a daytime TV drama, the DNA test results are in.
When it comes to Renaya Matthews, Mr. Matthews, you are indeed her father. And this is the child where you feel like you have the most doubt. Mr. Matthews, you are his father.
As the courtroom drama unfolds, we're not just talking about a run-of-the-mill paternity case. This is more like the Super Bowl of baby daddy disputes, complete with dramatic pauses and eye-rolling worthy of an Oscar nomination. Ms. Miller, armed with a stack of paternity tests and a fiery determination that could melt the bench, is ready to turn the courtroom into her personal stage. Scotty, on the other hand, seems more lost than a GPS signal in a tunnel, scratching his head as if the answer to the paternity question might magically fall out. The tension is thicker than the plot of a soap opera, setting up an episode that promises more twists and turns than a pretzel factory.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is the case of Miller versus Rasmussen.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone. Ms. Miller, you're here to prove to your ex-boyfriend, Scotty Rasmussen, that he is not the father.
Scotty Rasmussen's epic trek of 160 miles every other weekend to hang out with Zaley isn't just a road trip, it's a mission. Powered by sheer determination and possibly too much gas station coffee, Scotty braves this journey, wallet crying and car groaning, all to prove his commitment. He views each mile not as a burden, but as a testament to his unshakable belief in his role in Zaley's life, no matter what Miller throws his way. It's like he's starring in his own buddy movie, where the plot revolves around beating the odds, dodging Miller's curveballs, and maybe even finding a decent radio station along the way.
Your Honor, I believe it's just out of pure hatred. She just doesn't want me to have visitation. I drive 160 miles every other weekend just to pick up my daughter and drop her off. That's about 10,000 miles. That's wear and tear on my car. She doesn't have a driver's license. She doesn't have any way to bring her to me. She doesn't.
Their squabble unfolds like a soap opera, with more drama than a reality TV show marathon. Miller throws accusations like confetti at a parade, suggesting Rasmussen's interest in visitation rights is less about fatherly love and more about tax breaks. Rasmussen, on the other hand, denies these claims with the kind of fervor usually reserved for defending the last slice of pizza at a party. Amidst this clash of wills, it's clear their ability to communicate effectively is as broken as a smartphone screen after a night out. This not only highlights the depth of their discord, but also adds a layer of tragicomic relief to the otherwise grim reality of their situation.
You say she hates you. Why does she?
She hates me because at the end of the relationship, when things got rocky, I'll admit it, I did go to another woman. I'll be the first to admit that. You know, it was my mistake.
Is that true, Ms. Miller?
No.
It's not.
No.
Tell me
not
what
at all.
you believe to be true in this situation.
Yes, I was very mad at him for being a cheater. He cheated on me through pretty much our whole relationship. No, I do not hate him because of that. I lost my respect for him, yes.
He says this is about visitation, too. He loves his daughter, but you don't want him to have the visitation. Is that true?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miller throws a curveball in the paternity debate, suggesting Rasmussen might have been teleporting when Zaley was conceived, because according to his calendar, he was in a completely different state. Rasmussen, on the flip side, swears he could have won an award for the most excited to be a dad at Zaley's birth, showcasing not just his emotional investment, but also his potential for setting world records in enthusiasm. Amidst the drama, he jokes about needing to check if he accidentally discovered teleportation, adding a lighthearted twist to his argument. As the dispute heats up, they both seem to forget the most important spectator, their dog, who's been eyeing them suspiciously, probably wondering if any of this will affect his dinner time.
Because I still believe that he's not hers.
Okay, and listen, that's what we're here for. I want to get down to the bottom of the truth. You don't believe he's her biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So explain to me why.
When she was conceived in March 2011. He wasn't even in the same state. He was in Vegas. And at that time in March, I wasn't even with him. I was with somebody else because he broke up with me because he cheated on me.
But clearly at some point, Mr. Rasmussen either thought or was informed that he was her biological father because he is paying child support, he's still driving 160 miles each way, and she has his last name.
The big moment hits when the DNA test results drop, and surprise, surprise.
When it comes to 3-year-old Zaley Rasmussen, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Rasmussen, you are not the father.
Be respectful.
Sorry.
Miss Miller.
I'm sorry.
That's a lot of nerve considering the alternative is somebody that don't want nothing to do with you or your child.
I'm sorry.
That's a lot of nerve. You just showed me where your priorities were right there, because I held out hope.
Mr. Monaire asserts he spent 5 years in prison for failing to pay child support for a child, Dylan, whose paternity was never proven. Miss Sear claims to have proof that Mr. Monaire is Dylan's father, arguing that she's here to stop him from evading his responsibilities. The court hears about their past, a one-night stand that led to the alleged paternity. In a twist straight out of a daytime TV drama, Mr. Monaire insists the only thing he's guilty of is having a bad memory for names and faces, claiming he can't even remember what he had for breakfast, let alone a fling from years ago.
That he's the father of your son Dylan.
Possibility.
responsibility. I didn't find out anything about the child until I was served with papers in 1995. On the other side of the state, I was indigent. I was living at my mom's, didn't have a job at the time, so I didn't show up for court, and I was named the natural father by default. That came 3 years later after I still didn't pay child support, still wasn't able to pay. I still had doubt. I've never, to this day, thank God for your show, or I'd never know for sure whether or not I was the natural father. Never. I couldn't show up for court.
Why?
There's a lot of people.
I got there.
Well, you live in the same town. I got arrested in 1998, so that's 3 years in my calculation. And then I went to prison for 5 years. When I got out of prison in 2000.
The conversation shifts to the legal consequences Mr. Manair faced due to his absence at a court hearing, leading to his default paternity declaration and subsequent criminal charges for failing to pay child support. Mr. Manair shares the hardships of being imprisoned and questions the existence of any DNA evidence linking him to Dylan. He humorously notes that the only DNA he's sure of is that he's 100% done with this situation, wondering if there's a genetic marker for bad luck in courtrooms.
I'm not here to win any Father of the Year awards, believe me.
You wouldn't get it.
But I'm here to say that, you know, in today's society, I think it's cruel and unusual punishment to be sentenced to 5 years in prison. Back in 1995, or better yet, in court when I was going to be sentenced to prison, things could have been a whole lot different. I know I would have embraced. I guarantee you there's
you
thousands.
understand that now, that in this country, you got to show up. If you got to walk there,
right,
you need to be there. And then you plead guilty.
For every American.
Mr. Manair discusses the cruelty of his sentence compared to other crimes, highlighting the severity of his punishment for what he sees as a minor offense. The discussion also touches on the legal system's expectations for individuals to appear in court, irrespective of their circumstances. He jests about starting a support group for those wrongfully declared as parents, proposing they call it Not the Daddy. He imagines the group's motto, "You are not the father, but you still have to pay."
The pain that you've endured because
my stubbornness.
Thank you.
Yeah,
you are a living example of that.
To be
So now,
known out
as
there.
you're being hauled off to court, you're still adamant and you're saying, I'm not the father of this child.
I'm saying I've never been proven to be the father of this child.
Miss Sear comes forward with what she claims is the smoking gun, proving Mr. Manair is the father, but Mr. Manair isn't buying it. He's convinced she's got friends in low lab places, making the evidence as fishy as a tuna sandwich left out in the sun. The judge, donning her detective hat, sifts through the evidence, finding more holes in the story than in a block of Swiss cheese, especially about how Mr. Manair's DNA sample was collected. Apparently, not with a cotton swab, but with a magic wand, judging by the lack of clarity.
Who's to say it was my sample? Maybe they got it mixed up with John Smith down the street, you know?
Clearly states that there was a laboratory test performed. I see here.
I don't think it happened. I think she worked in the lab and that she's had this thing.
Had nothing to do with DNA.
I'm sure that, you know, when you're in a business, you know other people
Now, what's
that's in the business.
interesting to me is that as I go through this evidence and I get to...
Cue the dramatic courtroom music as new DNA testing takes the stage, courtesy of the court's no-nonsense approach. This isn't just any test, it's the kind you can't argue with, sealed tighter than a jar of pickles, ensuring that the only thing being tampered with is everyone's patience. Both parties roll up their sleeves, ready to spit in a tube or whatever it takes to end this episode of Who's Your Daddy once and for all, with hopes that the truth will be less confusing than assembling furniture without instructions.
It's entirely blank, meaning
Imagine that.
there is no social security number.
That's right.
There is no address that you didn't show up, you weren't there for this particular test. It's
You're
true,
right.
because there's no evidence that you were there on that
That's exactly
day,
right.
which they claim was you.
The date of May when they put on there underneath the ascension number, that is when they pulled the sample out of the freezer.
The tension could be cut with a butter knife as family secrets start spilling like beans at a clumsy cookout. Mr. Maynard's son steps up, painting a picture of his dad that's part superhero, part bedtime storyteller, making everyone else look like they're competing for second place in the Dad Olympics. Meanwhile, Dylan, on the sidelines, shares a bond with Mr. Manair. That's as close as Pluto is to being a planet again. Technically there, but not really feeling it. The courtroom holds its breath, waiting for the DNA results to drop like the season finale cliffhanger nobody's ready for.
Absolutely. Been a great father to me. We've had our ups and downs as a father-son relationship should be, but
We're best friends.
we really are.
We're best friends.
Yeah, I've felt he was my brother since I met him.
So you've seen your father treat Dylan well?
I've been withdrawn. I've been distant, but that's because of the doubt.
I feel I don't know him that well.
We don't know each other.
Go ahead, son.
I love Chris though. We've spent a lot of time together.
Your brother.
Met
Would
my
you
little
like
brother.
to have a relationship with Mr. Manser?
I'm not really sure.
In a courtroom packed with the suspense of a season finale, the judge, with the dramatic flair of a reality TV host, drops the bombshell.
As it pertains to 20-year-old Dylan Sear, Mr. Manser, you are not
Oh, God.
his father.
Oh, man. 5 years in prison. Dylan, I'm sorry, bro. This is why. I did what I did.
But this
and
is
acted-
nothing I made up. The lab did
You
it.
made it all up. You
No,
made
I
those-
did not.
Well, those results apparently
I don't know
are made
any
up.
of those.
Mrs. Johnson, on a mission to glue her marriage back together with the might of a high-stakes paternity test, finds herself in a dramatic showdown against Ms. Davis, whose claims of an affair with Mr. Johnson have sparked the ultimate family feud. Ms. Davis, armed with confidence and a story that could rival any daytime soap opera, insists her romantic escapades with Mr. Johnson are not just tales spun from thin air, but have led to her current state of motherhood. The air thickens with drama as each woman stakes her claim, turning the courtroom into a battlefield where only the truth can triumph and the future of a family hangs in the balance. Just when you think you've seen it all, the narrative takes a turn that promises even more intrigue.
You and your husband have been together for 5 years. You are in court to save your marriage by proving to the defendant that your husband is not biological father of her 13-month-old twins, Christian and Christiana.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Davis, you contend that you had a sexual relationship with the plaintiff's husband and say that led to your pregnancy and birth of your twins. Is that correct? Ms. Johnson, you say you are Mr. Johnson's mother and you contacted the court hoping to bring closure to this ongoing DNA drama. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
In the eye of this storm stands Mr. Johnson, a man torn between the woman he vowed to spend his life with and the mother of children who might be his. Plagued by doubt and the fear of a future unknown, his once steady resolve is now as wobbly as a table with one short leg. This isn't just a spat over who forgot to take out the trash. It's a full-blown crisis that's putting his marriage on the emotional equivalent of a roller coaster that nobody wanted to ride. Brace yourself. What comes next might just redefine the meaning of a plot twist.
I just feel like we'll have a lot more closure if I go ahead and find out if they're mine or not.
So you admit you're a married man and you're torn between 2 women now.
Now, I'm not gonna say now because me and Ms. Davis don't have any more dealings.
But she's still wreaking havoc on your relationship.
I'm not gonna necessarily say that, but
What are you gonna say?
I'm gonna say, being that I don't know for sure if the kids are mine, yeah, that's causing havoc.
As the plot thickens and twists, more than a pretzel at a state fair, the tale of Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Johnson, and Ms. Davis unfolds, revealing a tangled web that would give a spider a headache. The unexpected plot twist comes when Ms. Davis, amidst the legal tango, confesses her past with Mr. Johnson, yet casts a shadow of doubt over the twins' paternity. A serendipitous, or perhaps meticulously planned by fate, encounter at the doctor's office between Mrs. Johnson and Ms. Davis not only adds fuel to the fire, but also serves as the perfect recipe for disaster, setting the stage for a showdown that could rival the intensity of Finding Out. Your favorite TV show has been canceled after a cliffhanger season finale. The stage is set for an explosive revelation that promises to shatter expectations and leave audiences gasping for more.
So tell me about your relationship with Mr. Johnson.
Somebody introduced me to him.
Okay.
So we was together for a little while, you know what I'm saying?
Did you know he was in a relationship with Ms. Johnson?
No, not really until like a couple years, probably like a year or so. I seen the little married pictures on Facebook or whatever. So I like, so when this come about, you know?
Did you confront him about it? Are you married?
No, I ain't confronting him, but you know, I asked him about it because it ain't my concern because you ain't my man, you know? We'll get the papers and we can go from there. I got the papers.
Oh, you told him to get the papers as in divorce papers?
Yeah.
And if he really wanted to be with you, then you would let him be with you?
Yeah, we can go from there, you know, talk about it, whatever. But see, it's another lady involved too. Yeah.
Oh, well, since she's not in court, we'll just leave that one alone.
Yeah.
We got enough to deal with in here.
Yeah. No, I still have a relationship with his mom. You know, I talk to his mom all the time.
So you told his mother?
Yeah.
I'm pregnant.
But I said I don't think they hid.
Just when you think you've seen it all, a twist that sounds more like a plot from a daytime TV drama than a courtroom case emerges. The judge finds himself navigating through the soap opera-esque revelation that the twins might just have different dads. It's a Maury moment that no one saw coming, complete with a courtroom audience silently mouthing, "Oh snap," as the gavel hits the sound block. The legal eagles in the room can't help but exchange looks that say, "This is going to be one for the books," as they scribble notes, wondering how this genetic curveball will play out in their legal arguments. And if you think that's shocking, just wait until you hear what's next.
She wanted to play the wife role. She even asked my mother-in-law, can you go to her house and get BJ clothes? Never was gonna happen. The day that another woman come to my house for my husband clothes, that would be the day. He's not going anywhere. I'm not going nowhere.
Excuse me,
We're
Your Honor, he
contempt.
told
We're
me to
happy
go
in our
get
marriage.
his clothes.
It don't matter who he's with.
Don't
he's
do
with
that,
me
baby.
now. I'm not going nowhere. So
It don't matter. I don't care
So
about
wait a
that.
minute,
You done,
wait a
it's over
minute,
with.
Miss
You the one
Davis.
looking stupid, not me, baby.
Wait a
No, I'm
minute.
not looking stupid. I'm the wife. You the one who's going back and forth
No,
with
baby,
Jay.
because I did.
Hold
You
on.
didn't
I'm not
bend
going
over with,
nowhere.
honey.
Not going nowhere.
Lady, Mr. Johnson was texting you just
Not too long ago. I
My
want to
husband
come
don't have a
home
phone.
and this and that.
saying, I want to come home.
Yeah.
How long ago
I want to
was
come
that?
home. Like a month ago. Like
My
a month
husband don't have a
ago.
phone.
Went with the other lady.
I didn't even have a
That-
phone.
Like a month
He don't
ago.
have a
Before you just
phone.
done went with the other lady.
It wasn't a month ago.
Yes, it was.
It been way more than a month ago. I'd say maybe at least 3 months ago when she heard from me.
Now, Dr. Jackie, the OBGYN with the unenviable task of explaining how a woman can conceive twins with different fathers, a phenomenon known as superfecundation. As she breaks down the science, it's clear she's done this more times than she'd like to admit. Her delivery is smooth as a seasoned stand-up comics punchline.
It is something in medicine we call superfecundation, or basically saying female will ovulate more than one egg in that one ovulatory cycle. So should a female ovulate one or more eggs in that cycle, and she has one or more partners, certainly you can have a set of twins with two different fathers.
And Ms. Davis, you did testify. You were very honest about the fact that it is very possible that you slept with Mr. Johnson one day and then a couple days later also had sex with your ex.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you tell us what the odds are? What are we looking at here? Is this something that's close to a miracle, or is this something that is more common than we are informed about?
What they've found is, and there's a lot about genetics now, is there is actually a gene where it typically follows the maternal line, but there are some women who will have that gene.
In a dramatic twist straight out of a daytime TV drama, the court drops the bombshell that Mr. Johnson is officially...
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Johnson, you are not the father. I will say this, Ms. Davis, you said Christiana is the one you believed was his.
Yes, Your Honor.
So that result didn't surprise you.
Not at all.
The next result reads as follows. It has been determined by this court. Mr. Johnson, you are not the father.
I'm fine.